So, welcome to episode 20 of Two Girls, a Guy, and a TARDIS.
Today, a girl, a guy, and a TARDIS?
A girl, a guy, and a TARDIS. Yeah. Joanna couldn't make it tonight, so we've been gone way too long, and there's definitely some big news going on. There's some big local news going on for Chicago TARDIS also. And we do want to talk about the original Doctors before the special airs. We're running out of time, so we might have to do an extended episode one day. But so we're going to talk about the third and fourth Doctor today also. First up, big news in the Doctor Who community, which I'm sure most of you have heard of, but, you know, with real life and jobs, we couldn't really get a podcast done quickly about it. But Nicole knows more of the details. Late. Yes, and I'm sure there's people that don't know all the details. So, Nicole, go. Tell us what they found.
Well, on, was it Thursday, I think they announced? I lose track of the days now. That they found
That's a side effect of time travel.
Yeah. Well, you know, 1 minute you're in the future. The present's hard to keep track of. But they just announced that they found 2 more Patrick Troughton stories. Almost 2 complete stories. The whole Enemy of the World, which gives you double Troughton, because he's the bad guy and the Doctor. And nice. The Web of Fear, the return of the Great Intelligence and the Yetis, which is still missing episode 3, I think. Okay, yes, the Web of Fear, Yeti, Great Intelligence.
So how many episodes are they still missing of it?
1.
That's not bad.
They had one before.
They could do an animated recreation or something.
Yeah, and I want to say it's episode 3 is still missing, but they have the other 5.
That's pretty good, though.
Enemy of the World, all 6.
Wow.
After only having 1 before.
It's funny, because there's a guy, and I can't think of his name right now, that is kind of... He's real big into rumors and rumor-mongering and stuff, and the problem is his information usually turns out to be pretty accurate. And a lot of the Doctor Who people hate him, and a lot of them love him, and I can't think of the guy's name for the life of me right now. And since I'm a guy that likes spoilers about stuff, kind of like our one guest, Sarah, I don't mind the guy so much. But he had said that they had found episodes somewhere, and no one believed it. You know, I mean, this Finding Lost Doctor Who episodes has been going on now for at least 20 years. I mean, I remember back when it was off the air, people were like, ooh, I found, you know.
Oh, but the rumors got, like, spectacular. It was like all 106 missing episodes have been found.
They got way out of
90 episodes have been found.
I believe there's 97 missing.
Yeah, now there's 97. So it's under 100.
So it did get, I mean, it does get blown out of proportion to a point. The BBC for years has said there are no more. And now the BBC is saying, here. So, you know, much like the Doctor, the BBC possibly doesn't know or lies, you know. And I could see, if it, not lying necessarily, but saying they don't exist, well, I guess it would still be lying, because it's the 50th and you want it to be a surprise. You know, I can understand that.
Oh, there's still rumors out there. I was just seeing, even now, there's people like, there's more episodes, they just aren't telling us.
Well, I mean, there very well could be.
I think the current rumor was that there's, like, severely damaged episodes that were recovered, so they need major restoration, and I'm like, be nice if there were more, but
I could see that, you know. I could see that being very believable, because
they've just been sitting on a shelf in an African country for
I mean, they're magnetic. I mean, it's
40 years.
It's magnetic tape, you know, and it degrades after a while. I mean, you know, especially if it's not put in the proper storage and stuff. So, but it very well could. There very well could be more out there. I mean, you never know.
Oh yeah, and the one of the documentaries on, I think it was the Lost in Time DVD, they were talking, and like all the people are going like, I think we have recovered all the episodes. There are always going to be, you know, at that point I think it was like 108 missing episodes. There are always going to be this many missing, and then it's like, and then they found the Galaxy 4 and the Underwater Menace, and I'm like, so, but you see where they find them from sometimes, and it's like, how could you ever say they are like not out
Guam,
there? Or they're found
in Nigeria. Where I think these came from was Nigeria.
Yeah, these were Nigeria. There was one, I can't remember which story it was. I should remember. But they, like, found it in the basement of a Mormon church.
Yeah, I mean...
In, like, the 90s, like, or the 80s. You know, I'm like, a Mormon church... What were they doing? Nobody knows why they were there. So
a youth group may have been watching them.
They could turn up anywhere, the way I see it.
Yeah, you just don't know. And to say that we're positive, I mean, at some point you're going to get to a finite number that, yes, you probably are not going to find the very last ones. But there's billions of people on this planet. And back then there was probably still a billion, I would think. I don't know the exact number in the 60s. But there were always audio files, there were always video files, there were always people that were gonna, somebody probably has more. It could very well be somebody that worked for the BBC has them, or somebody that worked at a TV studio, really liked the show and was like, I can't see these, I don't want these to be deleted, and smuggle them out. I mean, that's how these things turn up.
You hear about people that just collect these
old film tins,
and they don't know what they have. They just went, I'll buy this.
Unlabeled video. And there are people that have reels of unlabeled footage from they don't even know what. So,
But it is amazing when you think about that they recovered, 9 episodes that no one had seen. In the last 25 years, they recovered 8.
Yeah.
So, in one day, they announced more. But still, it was a bit of a letdown after you hear, 90, dozens. You're still kind of hoping, maybe there's...
saying dozens wasn't far off. I mean, a dozen anyway. But, like you said, they may be holding on to more.
The BBC lies. Just like the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's great, though, I mean... And I'm assuming, I know for a fact those have Jamie in them, and Jamie...
Yes, and Victoria.
The longest-running Doctor Who companion, consistently, who has no episodes available. So, I think it's great,
And Deborah Watling's father is in the Web of Fear. Her real-life father.
Huh. Very cool. Very cool. So that...
I wonder if Stephen Moffat ever... It is interesting that they recovered one featuring the Great Intelligence. And he featured the Great Intelligence prominently this season.
Yeah, and I thought about that because it's not like... And these things are already out, these things are charting on iTunes, by the way. It's not like the Great Intelligence was a very popular character, and he didn't extend out of the Troughton era.
He didn't leave one season, I don't think. That both his episodes were...
Yeah.
5th season? I think that is.
And to be honest, being black and white's lucky too, because there's a lot, black and white holds up a lot better. I'm not a film person. I mean, I love film and all, but I do video work, and for security, black and white cameras have higher resolution, or let me correct it, until recently, with IP and HD and all that. Mm-hmm. But traditionally, black and white cameras had higher resolution, clearer picture, sharper image. And when it was dark out, you were able to see more with low light than you could with a color one. You get less noise, less. So these being black and white is also going to help, when they restore it, because it's just got more data on it. Also, do you remember hearing that somebody was scanning old films of Doctor Who and finding out that there's color pigmentation throughout, even though it's black and white? It captured some of it.
Well, they did that for the Pertwees. That they recovered in black and white. They used that, which is just amazing that they could take the black and white footage they found and draw out the colors and restore them.
Well, with these here computers and interwebs, also there is an audio coming out. Speaking of old school stuff, that's the biography of Terry Nation, the man who invented the Daleks. I don't know much about Terry Nation offhand. I know he was smart enough to keep the rights, I believe, of the Daleks somehow. So when the BBC had to get approval from him to use them, so that's why they've been so,
Tried to take him over to America. Make a Dalek show here.
It was going to be a sitcom.
That is almost what I picture,
a Dalek sitcom. It's
like
Archie Bunker with it's like all in the family with Daleks. Hey, meathead.
I just can't. I don't know much about that except that he wanted and I went, what would that be? I can't even begin to imagine what was, because it wasn't going to be Doctor Who. It was just he had the Daleks and wanted to use them. So how do you create a show around the Daleks?
Well, yeah, I mean he he did do some other writing. I don't know a lot of the shows. I mean, is it out already? Well, let me look this up a second. No, coming out this month, sometime this month. So typically there's book releases for everyone this year is putting out books. Mm-hmm. To me, it's almost getting out of hand. Adventures with the Wife in Space, which I believe he wrote this. His wife had never seen the show, and I believe they started watching it together from the beginning.
Yeah, and they did a blog.
Yeah. So this would either look for an archive of the blog or get the book. I believe it's Neil Perryman. It's actually at least an like interesting concept. I wish I can get Joanna. Now somebody already did it. So, mm-hmm. Then you have Inside the TARDIS, The Worlds of Doctor Who, coming out soon.
Who's 50 just came out, I think.
Yeah, Who's 50 just came out. I have another one that's on back order. I think it's that one where I should be getting it signed from the author. There's a Girls of Doctor Who calendar that had like Janet Fielding in it, and if you pre-ordered it, you'd get autograph photos of two of them. And I don't know how it worked out. I totally forgot I pre-ordered it. I got it. I'm looking through it. I got Sophie Aldred's autograph on it, which is just awesome to me because I love Sophie Aldred even to this day. So inside the TARDIS, has been acclaimed as a definitive history of Doctor Who. I guess it's the second edition to mark the 50th, so I'm sure it has whatever last 5 years or so. James Chapman's the writer of it, so if you want to know more about Doctor Who, you can look that one up. New Dimensions of Doctor Who: Adventures in Space, Time, and Television, which I'm sure it's got to do with. I believe it's more about the show, the design of it, the music design, the set design, stuff like that, and how it's evolved over the years of the show. And then there's Doctor Who: The 11th Hour, a critical celebration of the Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat era. So if you like to read, I don't need to really give a description of what that is, I don't think. I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Who is Who, the philosophy of Doctor Who. Oh, and there's a Torchwood declassified book coming out, investigating mainstream cult television. Is there going to be more Torchwood? We don't know. Will Brooks' 50-Year Diary, Volume 1, 1963 to 69. So this guy is being smart and dividing it up so he makes a ton of money. Oh, man. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, but the big deal is the Troughton episodes,
Mm-hmm.
So that's big news. It's good news.
Yeah.
So I am not buying them off iTunes. I'll wait till they're available somewhere else, DVD or something. For Christmas, I'll get them for Nicole, and Nicole will get them for me.
Surprise!
Woohoo! Also, Chicago TARDIS news. I found out through my exhaustive contacts at Chicago TARDIS, more like their Facebook page, that they are limited to 2,000 people per day, which means there's the potential to have 6,000 people in the weekend, which puts it on par with Galley, I believe. I think Galley was 5,000, 4,000 last year for a weekend.
I think Galley capped it, though, at like 3,000 something.
Was that per day or
per
weekend?
But they only sold memberships. They didn't sell any per day. You had to buy a whole weekend pass. They don't have any single-day options anymore.
Huh. Well, so it was it was in the 3,000 range, though, I think, for total visitors, which is impressive. But that means Chicago TARDIS may be the bigger, and it very well could be because just added to their guest list was Freema Agyeman. So Martha Jones is going to be there, along with let's see.
Actually, now they have a companion from every decade. Because that was their theme. They had
you have Fraser Hines.
I'm blanking out on her name, but Leela.
Well, let's just go. Lala Ward. No, not Lala. Yeah, isn't that her name? No. Louise Jameson.
Yes, Louise Jameson's going to be there.
Oh,
and
I loved her
Nicola Bryant.
Yeah, I liked her.
Daphne Ashbrook.
Well,
so they had one from each decade.
Let's just give the complete rundown, even though they don't talk to us. Peter Davison, one of my favorites. Met him, and great guy. Colin Baker, Paul McGann, Freema Agyeman, Fraser Hines, Louise Jameson, Sarah Sutton, who was Nyssa,
Oh, yeah.
Nicole Bryant, Perry. Daphne Ashbrook, who was Grace Holloway. Dan Starkey, as you all know, as Strax. Richard Hope, who was Melika. Nina Toussaint White. Mel's from Let's Kill Hitler. Michael Jaston, who was the Valeyard, so he's technically a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Malloy, who was Davros for 3 Doctors. Nicholas Briggs, who's always there. Dalek and Cybermen and Silurian voices, and Big Finish editor and executive. Yeah, and then you have a bunch of Big Finish people. You have Jason Ellery and Tracy Childs, Ken Bentley, Dick Mills from the Radiophonic Workshop, who I understand from you is an amazing person to listen to.
Very technical.
Richard Dinnick, who does audiobooks and tie-in books. Tony Lee, comics, graphic designer, graphic novels, audio writer, and a great guy. I've talked to him on Twitter. He responds on Twitter, and he's hilarious. I mean, he's a great guy. It's a good lineup. I mean, I think there's even more than that, to be honest.
Well, really, it's. I mean, almost everyone that was at Galley last year is now at Chicago TARDIS.
Well, it's I keep holding out hope that Sylvester McCoy will make another appearance. I mean,
4 Doctors.
I would love to see that. I mean, you'll never see Tom Baker.
No.
But if you had McCoy there, I mean, you'd have all but one of the remaining classic Doctors, which would be pretty cool. But I mean, McCoy was just there last year, the year before, last year, right? So it's going to definitely be. I'm sure that's why they're capping it at 3,000 per day too. But they have the potential to really blow through any record they ever had. I mean, they have the people there. Mm-hmm. So. I mean,
they have almost. I mean, not quite every, but they have almost everyone that was at Galley last. Yeah. I mean, because it was Freema, Sylvester McCoy then, but But like a lot of those other people, they were all.
Was the Valeyard there?
Yeah, he stayed in my hotel.
Oh, you guys hang out?
I saw him.
You guys hang out?
No.
Was he who you saw in the elevator? Who did you see in the elevator when you were trying to text me?
No, that was in New York when I was in the elevator with Jay Roach, who directed Austin Powers.
Which, and
I was
has
thinking
nothing to do with Doctor Who, but my bad.
He was there. No, he was there for the Peabodys.
Oh, yeah, Matt Smith was there, too.
And Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat were there.
And Matt Smith was at a bar that you wanted to go to, but you guys had been rained on all day or something. And decided
we would
not
have
to
been
go.
there when he was there.
Yeah, he came out and surprised everybody.
He and Stephen Moffat.
Yeah.
But I just... There was a Doctor Who connection, though, because I said when Jay Roach was in there and I realized that Stephen Moffat could have been in that elevator. That would have just blown
Stephen
my
Moffat
mind.
Somewhere?
No.
I just swore somebody told me they did.
No, I was looking. I checked. When we came back in, I checked the bar. Would anyone be in the bar from the Peabodys?
Just cozy up next to Stephen Moffat.
Anyone hanging out there? But no.
Hey, aren't you? You're Stephen Moffat, aren't you? I really loved Coupling. I thought you did some amazing work. The little show Doctor Who, you do a great job on that too. So that's I
didn't get to see him, but it's just the idea that it was possible that the elevator doors could have opened there and it could have just been Stephen Moffat in the elevator just minding his own business.
How long do you think he's going to stick around? I mean, because he's got a couple of years of Sherlock, and I think they're doing another year or two. But I mean,
he acts like he's close to leaving. I mean, he's made statements like he's further into his run than he is, to continue. So he's over halfway, which would mean he's been there 3 seasons. So that would seem to indicate he was thinking of leaving.
Well, I mean, it's nice that it's not a full switch over this time around. I'm still excited to see Peter Capaldi take over. I think I'm excited to see what direction it goes again. I think it's going to be nice that you're not going to have love triangles and all that other side crap in there.
Yeah, that wasn't my favorite part of the Moffat era.
But I mean,
I can deal with it, but I like my Doctor a little less.
Either have him and the companion be together, or don't. I don't like the kind of yes, kind of no. Ooh, I'm getting married. You know what I mean? That's where it bugs me a little bit. You know, I don't mind a small amount of snogging, as they say in England. But, you know, it's how it is today. I can get past it. Just lengthen the episode so we don't have so many plot holes, please. But anyways, speaking of longer episodes...
We've never found a plot hole in an episode.
Except half of the season.
I think it could be more than half. But.
Yeah. So let's get on to... that was about all I had for news. I mean, it hasn't been... It was so quiet for weeks. You know, and all of a sudden, in like a week, here's 5 new books, and here's a new guest for Chicago TARDIS, and here's new episodes we found. It's like, gee, wow. The floodgates have opened. It's a month and a half, roughly, till the special, right? It's November 10th?
Yeah, about a month and a half, yeah.
Wow, we are going to have to do like a 2-hour-long episode to finish off our Doctors.
Well, some of them won't take too long. How much can you say about Paul McGann and his one episode?
No, but you have Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy. There's a good amount to say about those two. And this episode will probably run a little long because we'll talk about Pertwee and Baker. Which
we've got 2 Pertwee fans here. So.
Yeah, so that's true. I've noticed suddenly I see a little more love for Pertwee from people that didn't like him. Like, I'll see stuff on Facebook or Twitter and be like, really? So now all of a sudden you're like, oh, he wasn't that bad. From where it was, I hate him. The Third Doctor is played by Jon Pertwee, who, I tell you, I think he really, truly enjoyed playing the Doctor, and it really showed. Like, it completely came through in how he played it. We've mentioned it before.
He was the Doctor.
Yeah. You know, he loved gadgets. He loved vehicles. He commissioned the Who-mobile himself and had it paid for it himself. Used it in one episode. His
Tried
last
to drive
episode.
it on the street.
Yeah.
Got stopped by the police.
Yeah. Do you think he had to, like... You know, it's funny because people are always like, oh, I hate when people call the Doctor Doctor Who. It's like, the license plate said Who won. I mean, back then, I mean, that's how he was credited, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't credited as the Doctor. He was credited as Doctor Who. I'm sorry. I love the Pertwee era. It was fun. Even when Liz Shaw, who was played by Caroline John, was on the show. I mean, she was a little stuffy. She was a little unbelieving. But she was kind of his equal in a lot of ways.
I liked Liz.
I liked Liz myself. And I think near the end, they just didn't... I think they said on a personal level, they just didn't get along real well. But she had gotten pregnant. I know that. And they wrote her out after the first season.
She got a bad goodbye, though.
She didn't get it. Well, really, Dodo's wasn't great either.
But hers is like the same thing. It's like, oh, she decided to go back to Cambridge. That's it.
Well, I don't think she wanted to do a farewell one anyway. I think she was... I don't know.
I don't think they let her.
I don't know if they were...
They wrote her out and...
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he needed the helpless assistant, Joe.
Yeah.
Who starts out completely incompetent.
But see, that was what was kind of nice about watching those episodes with Joe Grant. I mean, okay, first off, the Third Doctor, a little background is, his first episode was Spearhead from Space, which featured the Autons, which we know and love now from seeing in when they brought the show back.
I think they've referenced that episode more than just about any other, because Eccleston's first episode is with the Autons, like that. Actually, he and Matt Smith got their costumes and running around in the hospital.
Yeah. Kind of how Pertwee did.
Because that was the most flamboyantly dressed man who entered that hospital. I remember he was an executive or something, but with the cape, and I think he had a hat in the first one. Yeah. I was like, he is lucky that someone walked in there that just happened to be flamboyantly over the top in his fashions.
Anybody else dressed like that, it wouldn't have worked.
No, he pulls it off.
Pertwee was confident, and he was a big dude. He was tall.
Yeah.
And his stature and his mannerisms and his confidence just shone through in how he... I mean, he owned it. I mean, there was no doubt.
Those ruffles, see?
You looked at like him. I mean, he was the Elton John of sci-fi.
That is why I would love to figure out how to do a Pertwee costume.
And you don't see him.
I want to do that so badly, but it's hard to find that, and I don't sew.
That is an issue.
If I could sew, I could maybe create, but I so want to do that because I love the whole flamboyant look, and I know some people, like, I listened to the Verity episode, and some people were like, capes, no. I think he pulls off a cape.
And again, anybody but him, it wouldn't have worked.
It just works with him. He
but
can
the Verity
when
crew is very divided about Pertwee.
Yeah.
And they always have been. And there's like they're not always all on the show at the same time, but there's always a division between them. Like Eric has been with us on the other podcast, and Erica, not a Pertwee fan.
No.
But I
think
know
she might have.
Is it?
She was the one that was anti-capes. I was like, yeah, I'm not usually for like capes. I don't go, oh, everyone should wear a cape. But I think
they're completely impractical. But somehow it works with him. Oh yeah, no, I agree.
He makes it work. He just, it's just a way to make a more striking entrance and exit.
Yeah.
Flip the cape and walk in, and
I mean, when he took over, essentially he was banished to Earth by the Time Lords partially for the events of. What was the last? The War Games?
War Games.
The War Games. He was forced to regenerate against his will.
He chose to look like Pertwee.
Well, he was making fun of his face in the mirror.
But Troughton got to, like, choose his look.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they made him regenerate.
Yeah. But for some reason in that, he gets to, like, choose his look.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that.
So he was ready to go for a more flamboyant look.
Yeah.
He went, this guy can pull off a cape.
Let's put it this way. He went from being the cosmic hobo to a secret agent. I mean, realistically, you had shows like The Avengers. You had James Bond in full swing. You know, you had The Saint. You had a man from Uncle, girl from Uncle. I mean, you had woman from Uncle, girl from one or two. You had all this stuff at the time, and Doctor Who followed that trend, and I thought they did a fine job. And Pertwee wanted it that way, and you know, he took the spy-fi genre, as I just read somewhere, and he ran with it, and he did a great job. And he was banished to Earth, no TARDIS for all but the last season, I think. They introduced UNIT. You had met Lethbridge Stewart previously in the Web of Fear, which now we'll be able to see. It's the first meeting with them.
Colonel Lethbridge Stewart.
When he's wearing when Troughton's wearing that big fur coat, you find out Lethbridge Stewart is running UNIT, and I like the UNIT boys, man. I missed them the way they were. You know, they weren't so. They were militaristic for sure, but not to the extent. Not where they looked like they do now. You know, yeah, Spirit from Space was a great episode. And to be honest, two of the best Pertwee episodes were in that season. Spirit from Space and Inferno. I mean, Inferno...
Well, the whole season, I don't think there's a bad episode in it. No, there's only four stories, but...
I don't...
Because Ambassador's
that was
Death
1970.
Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Oh, and let's not forget, Jon Pertwee, when they were trying to... He got tired of trying to say all the scientific stuff, and that's... He was the first Doctor with a catchphrase. It was
reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. I have that on a T-shirt,
which I use all the time, and people are like, "Wow, that sounds really good." I'm like, "Yeah, doesn't it?" And again, anybody else on any other show, it wouldn't work. Coming from Pertwee, I think it works fine.
Well, he took the Doctor and made him a little more serious again, kind of. Back to the Hartnell era. He's not so jokey. I mean, he has his quips, but he plays it very
straight. You'd see those
straight.
Smiles with the companions here and there, and with the Brigadier.
But he plays it very straight, and he's like the
he was much
anti-Troughton.
Yeah, he was much more forceful.
Yeah, he's in control. He walks in there, and you know he is in charge.
Yeah, no matter what.
There's none of that. Like, I'm going to underplay it so people don't realize it. No.
He walks in and says,
"He was the smartest man in that room, and everyone else is going to know it."
The baddest ass man in the room. He knew how to sword fight. He knew karate.
Venezian
It was called Venezian Aikido.
It's like a tongue twister.
And everyone's like, well, I don't like my doctor being physical. It's like, oh, then you didn't really watch the episodes. Because he didn't go straight to being physical. He did all the typical, I'm going to try to talk him out, I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try that. And when it didn't work, then he'd smack a bitch.
Oh, not to jump ahead, but Tom Baker, I just recently watched again the Seeds of Doom. He jumps through a skylight.
Yeah.
To save Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty physical there. He like jumps through and like saves her and crashes. I'm like, that's like something Pertwee would do.
And actually, Baker took swings at people in episodes at times. I remember seeing him. I always said that there's times when you watch Doctor Who now when you're just like, hit him and run. Just hit the guy and go. And I mean, there's an episode with Pertwee where he's on this on this military base of some sort, not military base, but like some kind of complex. And he's running, and like people are chasing him. It's got this like James Bond feel. He also had the prisoner out at the time too, I think. But he like turns around, he like flips a guy over. He keeps running. He turns around, flips him, kicks it. Why not once in a while? But it was all how his character was. But yeah, let's see. Spirit from Space was the Autons. What I liked about what other episodes were in that season?
That was Ambassadors of Death, Doctor Who and the Silurians, and Inferno.
Yeah,
only 4.
The Silurians made their appearance. Ambassadors of Death, was that with the? No, they weren't robots. Who was in that one? What was that one? That's what it was. Wasn't it the one where they launched a spaceship to some probe, and they find this guy that they thought disappeared, and he comes back? Was that the one?
Is it? It might be. I'm. Some of the.
Yeah.
Was that the one?
This has been sent. Okay. Professor Ralph Cornish oversees the launch of the Recovery 7 probe. This has been sent into Earth orbit to make contact with the missing Mars probe 7 and its 2 astronauts who lost. Okay, that's right. I do remember that one. So that was a good episode. It took me a minute to come on. Some of the titles don't, click right away for me. Inferno was one of the first episodes of Doctor Who I ever watched. It was on a Channel 11 telethon. There was
the evil eye patch wearing Brigadier.
That was the start of. No, you know what? Star Trek did it first. Star Trek had the alternate universe episode where all the bad guys had goatees.
Yeah, that would have been
Doctor
before.
Who, they did it, and the Brigadier had an eye patch.
Yeah.
Liz Shaw was she looked like a Nazi. I mean, in the alternate universe, basically in Inferno, they're drilling into. What are they drilling for?
They're like.
They're drilling, and there's this green ooze that's coming out, and it infects people, and they turn into creatures.
I forget what they're drilling for. I should remember, because I watched that one more than once.
People touch the stuff, it burns them, their hands start turning green and getting werewolf-y.
Well, then they get all, zombie-ish.
Yeah. And they real hairy looking, and they attack others. Yeah,
and then the Doctor's trying to, because that's when his TARDIS still isn't working.
He's got the Council out of the TARDIS.
Yeah, so he's trying to get it to work, and he ends up jumping into the alternate universe.
Yeah.
Where he meets the evil eye patch wearing Brigadier.
And they're far more militaristic and far more, no, this is how it's going to be.
And everyone dies.
Yeah. He gets out
and then
just
he
in time.
Jumps back.
Yeah.
And stops it from happening in the...
Right, because he in the alternate universe was ahead in drilling because of how they didn't care if somebody got hurt. They didn't care if there was an issue. They just kept going. Where the Brigadier would slow stuff down or whatever, because he was always arguing with the head of the project. But hey, it was a good episode. It was a long... What was that? 7 episodes?
7 or
7
8?
episodes. Yeah, 7 episodes. But well worth it. It was a great ride. And that's the last we see of Liz Shaw.
Yep.
Which, the next we hear is that she told the Brigadier that the Doctor doesn't want someone that can help. He just wants someone to pass him test tubes and say how great he is or something to that effect. And
Which he gets in Joe in the beginning.
They bring in... Yeah, and oddly enough, 1971, the first air date of Terror of the Autons. 2 seasons, both started with Autons.
And the Master came in.
Yeah, the Master was working with them. And it was the first introduction of the Master, who...
Was then in, every episode that whole season.
You know what it was? Was the Master in the old classic series was devious and cunning. The new Master, while played greatly by John Sims, and I enjoyed watching his performance, was just psychotic. He was like a sociopath. He was like the Joker from Batman. There was no real... that intelligence seemed to be gone in a sense. That conniving and because he enjoyed toying with the Doctor, or so he thought, toying with the Doctor, and there was a repertoire that was almost friendly between them, even when they were fighting against each other. And there were times they worked together, and then went back to they were like. That's why there was so much speculation that maybe they were brothers or something because of how they had that.
Yeah.
And Roger Delgado was the first Master, played it great. Amazingly, the guy that took over after he died seemed to look very similar. The Master's the only Time Lord that every regeneration looks almost the same up until Paul McGann's movie.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't technically a regeneration. I know we'll get to this when we talk about McGann.
Well, yeah, but it's just a small segment of it.
It's a weird little, like, he takes the form of, like, a snake because he's been killed, and like, this little snake-like being takes over the body of Eric Roberts, who is the paramedic.
I think Eric Roberts...
So it wasn't a regeneration, it was just he took over his body.
I honestly think that Eric Roberts did an all right job doing it. I mean, all things considered.
Well, the whole thing isn't really set up like regular Doctor Who.
And it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. It's not great. I mean, but like I always say, any who's better than no who.
Yeah. But yeah, that wasn't technically a regeneration. It was a weird thing that didn't really fit in with the rest of the history of the Master. That he was just taking over bodies.
Now, what I was going to mention, you said the introduction of Joe Grant was in Terror of the Autons. Mm-hmm. The meaning of those two did not go so well in that episode.
She does everything wrong.
She uses a fire extinguisher or something to put out something he's working on.
Yeah.
And he's mad, and he thinks she's like the coffee girl or something.
Well, that's basically what she can do in the beginning. Her father pulled strings to get her there, and she's completely incompetent in the beginning, but.
She is, but through the series with her, you see her grow.
Oh, by the time you get to
see, that's what
the Sea Devils.
Yeah.
I think although she's running around in a white pantsuit, that I'm like, how is that not getting dirty? But that's just, I guess, the girl thing where you're going like, that would be dirty by now. She's running around, she's crawling through things.
It was the 70s. So what else are you gonna put her in?
But yeah, she's doing stuff then, and I'm like, this is not the same woman that started
off
as
a little girl, basically, is what she seemed like. He acted as her father. I mean, that's what the relationship was like. It was almost, I'm sure they didn't think this way about it, but it was almost like Hartnell and his granddaughter. I think if you wanted to analyze it and say, maybe he looked at Joe Grant as, his granddaughter or daughter, because he protected her, and he would go to any ends of the earth for her. But Terror of the Autons was a great episode. I don't remember the full plot of that. I remember the Master.
They took over a plastics factory, and they give out. I just remember because I think of that every time I see daffodils now. They made little plastic daffodils that they gave out, and then on cue they attached to their faces, and they're murderous plastic daffodils. And one guy is killed by the guy that owns the factory, I think, is killed by a plastic chair.
Yeah.
It's just I was like, it's the most bizarre. But every time I see daffodils now, I think of that episode, even though they're real daffodils, not plastic. I keep thinking of the little.
Now I know what to get you for your birthday. I do remember.
I will not trust daffodils ever again.
I will say Terror of the Autons was I thought a pretty good episode, but you see a lot of growth in Joe Grant from the first episode all the way through the Green Death.
Yep.
When she leaves to fight, for the Earth
and get married,
and you see the Doctor being sad and not knowing if he's going to go celebrate with them or not. I mean, there was some emotion there. And Katie Manning, I think Katie Manning and Pertwee just had great chemistry. I mean, regardless. I think that was a big...
Well, he had a hard time when Elizabeth Sladen took over, because she told the story that he, on her first day filming, she walked into the bar or something. It was the day before her first day of filming, I think, and Jon Pertwee was there, and he was like, "Oh, hi, Katie," and then he like realized what he'd said, and then he started to cry because he just missed Katie Manning so much. And I was like, I could see where that would make her feel bad, but then...
But she should understand that, though, too.
He was obviously very attached to Katie. They'd been together 3 years, I think.
Yeah, probably about three and a half.
And then they were
And I think they were friends off-set, though, too. And he was friends with... Him and Roger Delgado became good friends, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another good episode from that season was Colony in Space. I love when they do space stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good one. They... Basically, the Time Lords say, okay, your TARDIS is going to work to go here where we want you to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they want him to fix it, which he does.
He got in trouble for meddling, but then they want him to meddle sometimes.
Yeah, the Time Lords are dicks.
They're a bit fickle.
They're dicks. And we didn't see the Daleks the first 2 seasons at all, I don't believe.
No,
but season 3, the opening episode, Day of the Daleks, not a bad episode. It would be the first time Katie Manning, aka Joe Grant, meets the Daleks. Wouldn't be the last because at some point she decided to pose nude with them. You just look it up on the internet; it comes up real quick, guys.
I've seen that. I think I would rather not have seen that, but
I was never attracted to Katie Manning. I not like it's something. Oh, she's a horrible person. Just I don't find her attractive, so I could do without seeing it. And it can't be unseen is the problem.
Yeah. Oh, it's I've seen it now, so it's in my head, and I didn't need to see a Dalek.
Yeah, and just mentioning
like
it
that.
now, they're like the image pops up and it's like, ah.
It's what happens once you've seen it. So listeners, beware if you don't want that image.
If you're under the age of 18, close your ears for a second. A buddy of mine, back in the late 90s, found a European adult film with Daleks in it. Like, how they got the Daleks and how I don't know. But no, they weren't with the women either, I don't believe. I didn't really see it. But I was just like, wow, really? So, but Day of the Daleks is a great episode. I like that one a lot. Is that the one with the time travel? The time corridor? That goes to the cave? And they want to, the Earth, they want to blow up the...
I want to say yes. But I do sometimes confuse Day of the Daleks and, what is it, Planet of the Daleks, the other Pertwee one? So I think that is Day of the Daleks. I remember Death to the Daleks because that's the one with Sarah Jane.
Yes.
Where they have to pass all those little tests that are like children's games. It's like playing hopscotch to break the security.
There's gorillas. There's a group of gorillas that want to kill, head of some committee, a guy named Styles is what it is. And they're going to have a conference at this building. And they want to kill Styles because they blame Styles for the Dalek invasion, which happens later on.
Yeah.
Because he sets into a series of events, and they believe he is what caused this building to explode. And in reality, one of their wounded, who they think is dead, is who causes it. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't realize that the mission's been changed, and he goes down there to do it and blows the building up. Only, of course, the Doctor makes just enough changes to where the Daleks get destroyed. It's the first time you see the Daleks using a slave race also. They were using the Ogrons. Yeah. Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. Which is weird because you don't really see that before with the Daleks.
No.
How many episodes with the Daleks did Troughton have?
2.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They did 2. And then they were gone for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they used humans to do their bidding, but they didn't have a slave race. They just kind of manipulated people.
So, at the end of the episode, Styles and the rest of the people from the conference are saved, and the Doctor says, you need to make the right decisions. Of course, Brigadier's in it. Joe Grant. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, Sergeant Benton, I thought he was one of my favorites. Not so much Mike Yates, but I liked Benton. He was very good at what he did, even though he was kind of bumbling. Mm-hmm. You know? He was kind of like one of those big dogs that's just kind of like bumps into stuff, but when you need him to take action, he's good at it. I always thought...
Yates went bad.
What was that?
Yates went bad. He turned on him. He was on the wrong side in... Was it Invasion of the Dinosaurs?
Yeah, but wasn't he brainwashed or something?
And then he comes back in Planet of the Spiders. Trying to redeem himself, I think, by pointing out the mysterious workings he found at the monastery.
And then season 3 gives us our first anniversary episode.
Yep.
The Three Doctors. You
Which
know
I
what?
love.
I do too. It's light on plot, maybe, and yeah, you know, whatever. But the interaction between the three of them is great. You know, you see Troughton in color.
Mm-hmm.
And
with his recorder.
This season is one of my favorites. Season 10. It starts off with the Three Doctors, which I enjoyed. He can travel through space and time again. Next episode, Carnival of Monsters. This is a great episode. The TARDIS gets put into basically a zoo. It's like having it's like a fish tank with multiple there's like little, what are they called? Not aquariums. They're called it's like little exhibits, and people could look into this machine and see it. Somehow the TARDIS is in it. Now, the special effects are pretty hideous when they pull the TARDIS out, and it's obviously a toy.
Mm.
But it was just a fun episode, because they escape from their area. They're on the ship, and the same day keeps happening, and they realize something's not right. So, and there's a little bit more going on in that episode, too. The people bringing this machine in don't have the proper authorization, and they want to destroy the machine, and of course... They don't want it destroyed because it's their way to make money, and the Doctor is in it, so we don't want it destroyed. But I thought that was a fun episode. There's a little bit of running around in there. There's some creatures, and there's no Daleks in that though.
No.
There's Cybermen or something though. There's a few foes he knows in it. I just don't remember which ones. But that was good. I enjoyed that one. Then it goes to Frontier in Space, which was another great one. And Frontier in Space, if I'm correct... Oh, that's right. There is almost a collision with the TARDIS. Yeah, I don't remember the details. But it was a good episode. I think they arrest the Doctor and Joe. Oh, the Master's in it. That's right. Frontier in Space has the Master in it. In Roger Delgado's final performance as the Master, because he dies in a car accident, I believe, shortly thereafter. And then...
Well, I don't think it was too soon after, because he was going to be in Planet of the Spiders, originally.
Yeah, but it's only like a year away at that point.
Because they wrote it for the Master.
Yeah, but it wasn't originally Pertwee's finale. I'll get to that in a second. What I read recently. I don't know how true it is, but I read it.
Because that was supposed to be the finale for the Master too.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then,
but then you had Planet of the Daleks, which is a great episode. I don't even. Terry Nation wrote it. I mean, come on. Planet of the Daleks was one of my favorite episodes. Because that's the one that they have the invisible creatures who somehow need to wear fur coats. But the episode was pretty good. I think Joe or is it the Doctor that's dying and Joe's trying to save him? Or is it Joe that... Yeah, she has to run and do something. He gets knocked unconscious or something, then he gets taken.
Maybe.
Because they kind of crash land on the planet. There's like a research team that's there doing research to try to find out the...
It's always research teams all over space.
Well, that's what you'd think. Or mining crews, right? And the season ends with another great episode, The Green Death. They're back on Earth. Jo Grant meets her future husband. And there's giant caterpillars. And the Doctor wields a gun and fires it. So, that was... Season 10, to me, is one of the best Doctor Who seasons. I mean, there's a lot of good in that season, to me anyway. Season 11, I believe, is his last one.
Yeah, it's because he has one season with Sarah Jane. That's weird. Probably his worst season.
It's weird. It's well, Death to the Daleks was good.
It's still a little. I just have.
The rest of them were not great. Time Warrior was just mediocre.
Is god awful.
That's pretty bad. Planet of the Spiders is only mediocre.
I like Planet of the Spiders,
but it's just not as good. Season 11 was far better.
I mean, Planet of the Spiders has that whole episode-long chase.
Yeah.
He just keeps changing, and I'm like, I can appreciate that because it's like I get that it's his last episode, so that is the only reason I will forgive an episode where it is a chase that ends with the guy just disappearing.
Well,
the whole chase was pointless.
Yeah.
You spent the whole episode chasing a guy who could just disappear, so he didn't need to be chased in the first place.
That is very true. What I remember reading was that they announced he knew Joe Grant was leaving, or he knew Katie Manning was leaving, somewhere near the beginning of series 11, season 11. I want to say they knew early on because they wrote her out. I mean, she left on good terms. It wasn't like So that kind of hit him because he really enjoyed working with her. And after the Masters episode, I want to say it was before they filmed season 12 is when he died. And Delgado and Pertwee, from what I read, had actually become pretty good friends. So Pertwee, I think, said, "Listen, you know what? This is gonna be my last one," because he lost what he had. He lost his two best friends. But that's what I just read last year. How true it is, I don't know.
I read that in Elizabeth Sladen's autobiography, she kind of acts like he didn't really want to leave. But his pride backed him into it because he said...
Well, no, he didn't want to leave, but he thought it was the right thing to do.
He went in and asked for a raise. In her book, she says he went in and asked for a raise, and they said, like, no. And he said, well, if you don't want to give me a raise, then, like, someone else can take over the role because I'm not playing it. And they were like, okay, well, it was nice having you. And then he was, like, trapped into leaving, and he really was not 100% on board.
It was shitty because they gave him a bad year anyway. If that's true, I don't know. I don't know how much of her take on it is true. I don't know how much of what I read, and I wish I remembered where I read it, and I don't. It's hard to find his book.
His book, he acts like he realized it was time to go.
Yeah, and I think that's where I read an excerpt from was that there were factors that just all happened to him, and he was like, now's the time for me to leave.
But then I was like, I could see her, because she acted like he really was hurt that they didn't want to offer him money, so then he wouldn't stay because he was like, well, if they're not going to give me money and they want me to go, then...
To be fair, that might have been the final straw for him, though. I don't know what events occurred when. I mean, obviously, they knew he was leaving before they filmed, because they had to write the last episode. So... did he ask for more money and then they said no, and then everything else happened? I don't know the series of events when they all took place. All I remember reading was that these two were friends, and these two were friends, and both of them were gone. So maybe then after that he asked for the raise, and they told him that, and at that point he didn't care because, I don't know. Again, who knows what's going to be. If we ever get our TARDIS to work, we will go back in time and find out. But that's what I read. Like you said, Sladen's book says something different. I'm sure she didn't lie, but maybe there may have been more to it in the background. I don't know.
Because it seemed like, in her book, you get the impression he wasn't thrilled about, because he loved being the Doctor.
Oh, he did, yeah.
And he couldn't even be on set when they filmed Tom Baker's part of the regeneration. He didn't want to be there because he didn't want to see Tom Baker taking over the role.
Wow. Well, it's
because they didn't film it in order, so that was earlier.
They never do.
Yeah,
for some reason they don't film.
They did all the studio when they were doing that. He filmed his part, and then he said he had to. He agreed to be somewhere else, so he didn't have to be in the studio when they did Tom Baker.
Which now brings us to Tom Baker, who was completely different from the last three Doctors. His first appearance is in Robot. He doesn't want to be on Earth. He doesn't seem to share the passion for the people or planet that Pertwee did, or Hartnell did, even in a sense. No, but Hartnell, I mean, he came to Earth and spent time there for a reason.
But he was willing to sacrifice anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Hartnell really, until third season, didn't really care that much about anyone.
And it never really says he really loved Earth the way that Pertwee did. Pertwee, I think it was because he was exiled there. Yeah. But he, became quite fond of it. The Doctor became fond of it until Baker took over, and then he just wanted out. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of Tom Baker's episodes to me just don't grab me. But, you know, I always thought he took over sooner, too. But no, it was like 1973 or 4. It was
it's
quite a while.
75.
Yeah, it was quite a ways in.
75?
In fact, he was the Doctor till like 83 or something. I mean, he went well into the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The Pertwee era came to a close. The swashbuckling Doctor left. We were treated to a very strange Doctor. And I didn't really know what to make of him watching those first episodes.
Well, that's what like Sarah Jane's role is largely with him as like a buffer between him and
the
humans.
Him and everybody.
Yeah, but also like the humans he has to deal with now. She's like the go-between, the one that like translates. Like, okay, well, he can do this.
He does have that attitude that Pertwee had, where I am the smartest person here, to an extent.
But he's got a little bit of the like.
But Pertwee had
goofiness, Troughton, but used differently, because I think he uses it to like throw people off.
Well,
he sits at like he goes to talk to someone behind a desk, and he like comes on their side of the desk just to was like a power play, but he plays it off as like goofy. So he's got like he's always trying to like throw the other people off.
I also think he showed more contempt for a lot of things and a lot of people. Like, I mean, where Troughton, or not Troughton, but where Pertwee and the Brigadier had somewhat become friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, Baker, the Fourth Doctor, really does not seem to get along with him or even care.
No.
Like, he has complete contempt for UNIT, for Earth, for the people of Earth to a point. I mean, there's a lot of things that he's just like, you know, instead of like taking, you know, there's moments where he's like, these people are idiots, basically. You know, these Earthlings are stupid. Why do you want to... And whether he was doing that to throw somebody off or whatnot, I don't know. But there was a lot of great in the Tom Baker era, and there was a lot of stuff that I just looked at and I just didn't work.
Well, by the end, he gets a lot sillier.
Well, it gets a lot darker the last year or two.
But he also gets a lot sillier as it goes on. Like before, he's a little more like prickly, but then all of a sudden he just gets kind of goofy. Like,
well, it depends on, you know, it's funny. Everyone thinks of Sarah Jane Smith and they think of Tom Baker, and everyone thinks of Tom Baker and thinks of Sarah Jane Smith. She was not with Tom Baker that long.
Yeah, like 2 years.
And a lot of those episodes aren't great, and the chemistry between them isn't great in a lot of them. Like the interaction between the characters, it's just not, you know. I don't know. I thought he was great with the second Romana, not Mary Tam, the what's her name?
Layla Ward.
Layla Ward. I thought
who he married.
Yeah. Briefly. Sure, I'm sure divorced too.
Yes, it was like a year.
Him and Leela seem to get along fine. Mm-hmm. I think she's an underrated companion. I think a lot of those episodes with her were really clever in a sense, because she was not what we would consider smart, but she would look at something and compare it to something she already knew so she could understand it. Like, she had a way of understanding things that were beyond her, which you didn't see in a lot of companions. And for her, I mean, being I don't know, barbarian maybe? I don't know, what would you call her?
Yeah, I don't
remember.
Yeah,
they kind of a warrior, let's say.
Savagey.
Yeah, a savage. That's what she was. They consider her a savage. She had a lot more potential, and they used it at times. She was also very violent and very stabby. There was Romana 1 and 2. I liked Romana 2 better myself. I think some of those episodes are great when they're in Paris.
City of Death.
City of Death is a phenomenal episode. I mean, that's the thing. To me, his season, or his time, you know, it introduced Nyssa, Adric, and Tegan in the last episode, Legopolis. There was a lot of great things happening. Douglas Adams took over as script editor, and a lot of times was rewriting scripts. In fact, his episode never aired at the time, Shada, but it since has been I saw an early version they did a decade ago or whatever. But now I understand they've actually finished it and they released it, and it was a good episode. A little weird, but I mean, let's go through some of them here. We have Robot. I'll give it a thumbs up. Robot was all right. Ark in Space. You know, to be fair, his first season, Robot started off a little slow but got good. And then basically the next 4 episodes are one long episode. Because the Ark in space, they're on the space station with that. Was it the one with the creature?
The worm.
The worm, right?
Yeah.
Then they're on that space station. No, then they go down to Earth and they run into Santarans. Mm-hmm. Then they go from Earth back to the space station. They run into the Daleks at some point.
The Time Lords send him back to
Genesis. Okay, so
back to the beginning.
They're on the space station. They go down to Earth, meet the Santarans. From Earth, the Time Lords send them to the beginning of the Daleks, and this is one of the best Dalek episodes ever because he has the opportunity to end it before it all starts.
Got the 2 wires, just needs to connect them.
It's
Daleks gone.
Sarah Jane first meets the Daleks. Is Harry in that episode?
Well, Sarah Jane met the Daleks before, because she met him in Death to the Daleks.
Yes, she did. But actually, Genesis of Daleks, it wasn't even the Daleks yet. It was still the 2 factions fighting it out. The
Davros.
Yeah.
That introduced Davros.
It introduced Davros, exactly, yeah. And then they go back, I believe, to the space station again, Space Station Nerva, and the Cybermen are there.
And that's where they introduce the gold dust weakness of the Cybermen.
Well, it's better than Windex. So that season, while starting a bit slow with Robot, which I enjoy, it's just not... When you look at Pertwee's first episode as the Doctor, and then his season 2 opener, and I mean, Robot wasn't as strong to me. I liked robots at the time, so it was cool because I was a kid. But he drives Bessie in it, though. It's the last time you see Bessie, I think.
Until 5 Doctors.
Until 5 Doctors, yeah, with Pertwee again. That season, his first season, I enjoy.
I think my favorite was the Ark in Space. I really liked that one.
I really enjoy that one with the worm. Yeah.
Even though sometimes you can tell it's like
bubble
wrap painted green.
Well, they talked about that at Chicago TARDIS. Season 2 opens up with the Terror of the Zygons, the only Zygon episode. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to make of that one. I really don't.
Zygons will be back.
I don't think I'd say it was a high point of that season. Planet of Evil.
That was the first Tom Baker I ever saw.
Planet of Evil?
Yep. It's bizarre, but
that was one of the first times that he landed somewhere, and they're like, "Those people are dead. You did it." I think that started that trend, which we see going through, all of them. I don't know if I really liked it much. Pyramid of Mars, I enjoyed that one. Mm-hmm. Sarah Jane Smith as being a sniper with a rifle. Mm-hmm. That was a good episode. Who was the bad? What was the bad?
Sutek.
Sutek, right? Yeah, Sutek the Destroyer. That's a good episode. One of my favorite ones of all time, and one of my favorite Fourth Doctor ones, it came right after that. Android Invasion. They're on Earth.
Give it away in the title.
Yeah, but you don't realize it.
It starts out all mysterious and what's going on, but they told you it's the Android Invasion.
Yeah, that part, but you don't realize that it's not, what it seems. They end up on Earth, and they see the people of this town just being taken away on trucks, and later on coming back on trucks. And everyone's suspicious, and at times no one's moving or talking, and you find out that androids are replacing them. Slowly. I think that was a really good episode. There's moments that you were talking about where he's talking to he's in the research center, and he's sitting at the guy's desk. Isn't there an android of him at some point? And
I think
he sees Benton, the android Benton, and says, "What are you doing? You should be looking for the android, or you should be looking for the real him. Go get him, or whatever." And he runs by. So there's a lot of fun in that one. I enjoyed that one. Brain of Morbius. I don't know.
I liked that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was great. I mean, compared to the season before this one, that one had 4 great episodes and 1 good one. This one had 2 great ones and 2 kind of okay ones. I mean, Pyramids of Mars was pretty good. Android Invasion I liked. Brain of Morbius wasn't bad. Seeds of Doom.
I love the Seeds of Doom.
Seeds of Doom was good.
I think that's my favorite Tom Baker.
So there's 3 good ones there and 1 mediocre. Still not as good as the first season, but not bad.
And that one is what I was thinking of. Because, in that one he's like...
Oh, and by the way, if we forgot to mention, Tom Baker introduced a scarf. That
people
knows,
might not be aware of that.
To this day, when people go, Doctor, it's a guy with a scarf, right? It's like, oh. But yes, that was the Doctor with the scarf.
Seeds of Doom, he does the thing, too, where he's, like, talking to the guy, and then he's, like, going behind his desk and talking to him from there, and the guy's just like, I'm clearly an important man in charge. What are you doing? And he just, like... But he does it just to throw people off.
Yeah.
But I love that one. They go back to Antarctica.
Yeah, and here we come with season 14. Sarah Jane leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Replaced with Lala Ward? Mary Tam. Replaced with Mary Tam.
No, Louise Jameson. Leela comes in.
Ooh, are you sure? Because I thought that he goes back to Gallifrey. Oh, no, for something different. Yes.
Yeah, and then he
that's right,
picks
because
her up and he is companionless for an episode.
Yeah, it starts off with Mask of... I can't even pronounce it. Mandraga. I honestly don't remember that episode. They're in Italy. I know that.
Another historical.
Yeah, yeah, which the English are so fond of. Then the Hand of Fear.
Where Sarah leaves.
Yeah. No, was it the Hand of Fear?
Yeah.
Yeah, he drops her off, then goes to Gallifrey.
For Deadly Assassin, right?
Hand of Fear. I mean, seriously, it was a zombie hand. I mean, not kidding. It really was. Then the Deadly Assassin, where the president of the High Council is assassinated, and they believe the Doctor did it.
Which, yes, was one of the few completely companionless episodes.
Yeah, it was.
And because he doesn't get Leela till the next one.
In the Face of Evil, which was a good episode because there's 2 tribes at war, and we find out that the Doctor was there before, and they believe he was their god. So that's actually a good episode. Face of Evil was good. They
started out like a research crew.
They were modern research people.
Yeah, and then they broke off.
They regressed over the years because the knowledge got lost. So it was a pretty neat thing. That was a pretty good episode. But I mean, the first 3 of that season. Robots of Death. That one's not half bad. That one kind of reminds me of 2001: Space Odyssey with the computer killing them off. Yeah, Faces of Evil. That was a good episode. I enjoyed that one. Robots of Death, not half bad, not great. Talons of Wing-Chi.
Horribly racist, but
incredibly racist. But you got to remember the time it takes place in.
And you got the little weird pig slave guy running around killing people. It's quite bizarre.
It is, and the whole episode does not make a lot of sense. But it's just not a great episode. It's just not good.
Well, it's
totally
interesting. Bizarre.
It tries really hard, and it just doesn't pull it off.
For me, the most memorable thing is the weird little
the credits
pig guy running around. Like, really? This is what we're okay.
Yeah. So I mean, this might be the weakest Tom Baker episode, to be honest. Probably one of the weakest seasons for Tom Baker. Just not a lot of good. I mean, watch. Go ahead and watch maybe Deadly Assassin, Face of Evil, and Robots of Death. Assassin. I mean, those might be about it. Robots of Death even isn't great. I mean, it's just okay.
I mean, Talons of Wang Chiang is kind of mesmerizing because it's just, you're like, where is this going? And
how incredibly racist can we get?
For me, also, it's how is there this weird tiny little pig man running around, which is... And rats. There's the giant rats that get... It's like they threw in the most bizarre things.
Were they rodents of unusual size?
They were. They like kill people.
Princess Bride, right?
Yes, Princess Bride might have stolen them from Doctor Who because
might have been the same prop.
Although it's so obvious, which is what makes it kind of amusing that they're just normal-sized rats and they set them up to look huge.
Season 15 began in 1977. Horror of Fang Rock, good episode. I like that one. Isn't there a
Rutan?
A Rutan in it, right? That's a good episode. Leela's good in that. I mean, she's really good in that. Actually, Leela was played by Louise Jameson. Louise Jameson did a good job playing her, so.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this is the season that starts... Is it? No. This isn't the season that starts Key of Time.
No, it's the next one. Okay.
Horror Thing Rock, pretty good. Invisible Enemy... I don't remember it. They're on a space shuttle. There's like some virus. Oh, wait, no. I do remember it. It is a good episode. They get infected with an intelligent virus that's rewriting them, and it wants to take... It ends up being a work of another bad guy. It's where K-9 comes from. Scientist in it is who created K-9. People think the Doctor built K-9. That's not true. He inherited them from the scientist that dies. But this virus is killing them off and rewriting their DNA or something. And he's fighting himself in his own body. Remember him and Leela miniaturized? And I wonder if that... Yeah,
some of the later Tom Baker ones, I get a little fuzzy on some of the... Which one was which?
It was fun. I wouldn't say it was a great... It wasn't great, but K-9 and Leela kicked some ass. I will say that.
I think Leela always kicked some ass.
Yeah. And somehow managed to not flash anybody. Because she was barely wearing clothes.
Well, I told you when I heard June Hudson, the costume designer at Gallifrey, she was talking about, like, that she was very concerned with, like, the angle at which they would shoot her and all that, because she didn't want them getting her bent down and looking down her shirt or...
Yeah.
And I was like, I could see that with that costume.
I mean,
you'd have a couple angles that you'd be going, please don't film from this angle.
I mean, up until then, Louise Jameson was probably the... I don't want to say hottest Doctor Who assistant because then I feel like a teenage boy. But, I mean, she was pretty,
She was definitely the most scantily clad.
Up till then. But, she looked good. I mean, she was very pretty, and she had the body to... I mean, Sarah Jane was the girl next door. Leela was definitely not. In fact, isn't Leela from Futurama named after her? I almost think so, she is. So that episode wasn't too bad. I wouldn't say it was really great, but it wasn't bad. Image of the Fendel. Ooh, I don't remember that one. The Sunmakers, I know I don't remember. Where Pluto is a habitable planet, but only the ruling class get the sun. I don't remember that one. Underworld, I remember that one. That is just not... It's the one with the Minions, Minervans, something like that.
I vaguely remember. Yeah, I told you.
It was a very memorable season, if you can tell, because we've seen most of these, and we're like, I don't remember.
Yeah, we're both like, that one existed.
Invasion of Time. The Doctor becomes president of Gallifrey. Banishes Leela, and they fight off Sontarans, who are trying to take over Gallifrey.
And that's when you see the inside of the TARDIS. I think that was Invasion of Time.
What do you mean the inside of the TARDIS?
I think they show a little bit of the inside of the TARDIS, like when, like the swimming pool, maybe.
Oh, you mean like other than the control room?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I don't know. I don't remember. Which is the one? When do they get the secondary control room with the wood paneling? Do you remember the original one gets blown up or something?
Yeah, I remember that, but
I don't remember what episode.
Is it this? No, I don't think it's this one.
It might be.
Is it?
I don't know. So
for some reason, I just remember that you saw the rest of the inside of the... Like, you saw more of the TARDIS than you did before in the Invasion of Time.
Yeah.
And that is what sticks out in my mind.
So, yeah, Season 15, not great. Horror Thing Rock would be recommended. And... Invisible Enemy. And, yeah, what the hell, Invasion of Time. Why not? Throw that in there, too. What the hell?
You can see it has our... hearty endorsement.
Yes.
Yeah, we vaguely remember that one. Watch it.
Now, Season 16, though, was pretty good.
Yeah.
Season 16 brought us the Key of Time series. Not all of those episodes were great, but let's see, you lost Leela. She stayed on Gallifrey with a Gallifreyan.
Yeah.
Which just 3 years earlier, Gallifrey wouldn't allow Sarah Jane, but hey, whatever. He is brought off course by the White Guardian.
Yeah.
Who informs him that he has to find this Key of Time, and he is given Romana, Mary Tam. to assist in his search. And I
Yep.
believe it spans the whole season.
Yeah.
This is when Douglas Adams takes over for script editor. Well, it's in this season, but it's, I think, the last episode. First episode, the Ribos Operation, pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like that one. It's a medieval planet, and there's somebody trying to sell fake ore or fake valuables, and they get tied up in it, and basically he's got this magic wand that tells if it's part of the key of time. But
like
Ribos
a
Operation,
heist story in
yeah,
Doctor Who.
it was, and it was pretty good. Pirate Planet wasn't bad. You find out that the planet had been hollowed out and turned into a spaceship, so that was something kind of...
That's what the Daleks wanted to do to Earth.
Yeah.
Back in the
Well, these people did it.
Dalek invasion of Earth.
Yeah. So isn't there like a parrot on the captain's shoulder in this or something too? But it was all right. Stones of Blood. They go to Earth in the 70s. Shocking. Yeah.
It's amazing the way they would just sometimes get drawn into certain eras, the 60s and the 70s, then the 80s.
I honestly, I don't remember much about that episode. It's funny because I vaguely remember some druid rituals, some stone circles kind of thing. I don't remember much. Then we go to Android Zatara, which is they're on the planet Tara, and it's another planet that's medieval styled. And there's a prince that had been kidnapped, and there was an android version of him that they were using as to make it seem like he was still around. And there's some good trickery, and there's some good storyline, and there's some good twists and turns in that episode. That one was good. Throughout all these, you also see Romana grow as a character because she's very intelligent. I think she even mentioned she beat the doctor's scores at university, but she has no experience in the field. She thinks it's all about intelligence, and he's teaching. He teaches her that no, you need to understand that you could be the smartest person in the world, but common sense plays a factor. You need to, see things better. And he was a huge change in her from the beginning of this to the end of it too. Mm-hmm. Power of Kroll is a horrible, hideous episode. Just horrible. I'm not kidding, people. It's bad. It's one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who I think ever made. I really do not enjoy. It's so ridiculous. It's so badly.
I might give that title to Monster of Peladon.
I didn't say it was the worst. I said it's one of the worst. Monster of Peladon was worse than that. Yes, but it's just so.
Monster of Peladon is full of those bizarre little
labor
strike speeches and women's rights speeches, and it's like. What about a story?
I'm not arguing that it sucked. I'm just saying that this was pretty bad too.
Just when you said that, I think I might give that crown to. As much as I love Pertwee, I might give the crown to him for that.
That one was worse than this, but this is pretty bad. I mean, the monster and it's horrible looking. It's another natives versus the scientific, like the advanced people. It's just not good. And then the final episode is the Armageddon Factor. Was that the final one of the Key of Time? I believe so, right? It was the whole series. Yeah. Good episode. Great episode. And not great, but good episode. They go to the planet Atrios, which has been fighting a unwinnable war against their neighboring planet for like millennia or something, some huge amount of time. And the Black Guardian, I believe, is closing in on them because Black Guardian's been trying to get the Key of Time himself. Yes. For some odd reason that's unexplained, Mary Tam decides I'm not going to be the Romana. Romana decides she's just going to...
Time for a change.
Yeah. And
women.
Now, the last episode, Armageddon Factor, starred Lalla Ward, who played Princess Astra.
Yep.
And when Romana decides to change, she becomes Lalla Ward. And the doctor even says, you can't take that form. That's somebody else. And she's like, well, she's dead now. I think she was dead. I think she dies.
Maybe.
Or she just wanted to be, or she just liked how she
really
looked or something.
Wanted to, that reminds me. Getting back to the news part, did you hear Stephen Moffat supposedly said that they're going to address Peter Capaldi's other appearances in the Whoniverse?
Why? They never addressed why Colin Baker was a security guard, and then
No, but they're gonna. Supposedly, he said they're gonna address.
Is this gonna be timey-wimey, and he makes us all go through
and they're gonna explain why he was like in Torchwood and at Pompeii, I guess. And they kind of cited, like, Romana deciding to take on the appearance of... So I don't know if they're going to go back to the thing that they haven't shown since Troughton, where he chose how he wanted to look.
I guess it could.
So, and he's going to choose to look like John Frobisher, who...
From Torchwood?
Was not... particularly a heroic character.
Well, what about the guy from
It's all going to be. So I don't know why the two.
I think they're no. You know what they're going to do is they're going to say that he's the doctor, and that somehow that doctor has been guiding the other doctors through to this point in time to do something. That's what's going to happen.
Except Torchwood.
And then well, but he was there.
Kills himself and his family.
I don't know, because if they do something ridiculous like what I just said, I'm going to fly to England and I'm going to hit Stephen Moffat in the nuts with a tack hammer.
And I know I just took us off our focus on Tom Baker, but that reminded me of what I'd read.
I don't think it needs to be addressed.
No.
It really doesn't. Just leave it alone.
It doesn't bother me.
But anyway, so Lalla Ward takes over as as Romana.
We're not quite there, but when we get to Peter Davison, we'll be able to talk about Colin Baker's appearance.
Yes, 2 years, a year and half a year before he becomes a doctor.
And how nobody seemed to care. It was okay.
Yeah.
So he looked like the
security officer at
Gallifrey.
Yeah, no.
We just don't talk about that. I'm willing to accept that they just happen to look like that and move on, but...
Yeah, so season 17, Lalla Ward takes over. I honestly like Lalla Ward as Romana better. There was a lot of sexual tension between the two. This was the first time in Doctor Who that you would think you could look at it and go, there was something going on between them.
I think you could sometimes look at Pertwee and Joe.
He treated her too much like a kid, though, in a lot, which would just be creepy.
But by the end, I think there's a little. I don't personally go there, but I could see.
Well, you know what? If you really want to get into it, I'm sure there's some alt fan fiction out there, or alt / whatever, where it's Jamie and Troughton. So
I don't need that.
Because we probably have.
If people want to, I don't care.
Yes,
I don't need the image in my head.
Yeah, well, think about it.
I'm happy without it.
He always was wearing a kilt. Keep that in mind. Anyways, I thought Lalla Ward was pretty good. You did definitely see, to me, what seemed like a relationship between the two. Destiny to Daleks. Davros comes back. I believe they're in a bunker on Skaro. It's a good episode. Terry Nation wrote it again. Terry Nation wrote most of the early Dalek episodes. But Destiny was pretty good. Then we come up to City of Death.
I love that one.
This is a great episode.
Yeah.
This is one where you see that between them. They're like, they go to Paris for no reason, and they're just hanging out. Well, no, there's time distortions or something. No.
But they
didn't
don't
know
go
that
there
at the
because
time.
of that.
No,
they just get caught in them. Yeah.
They were there on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And she, Romana and the Doctor find out that there's multiple Mona Lisa. There's a rich guy that turns out he's
an alien.
He's an alien, but he's part of an alien, and he's faking Mona Lisas to get money.
He's not faking them.
Well, that's true.
He had Leonardo da Vinci paint multiple Mona Lisas.
He had him locked up in the past with another one of him. Basically, this alien, he gets blown up, and parts of him get scattered throughout time on Earth. So there's multiple hymns, and they all can communicate.
And he wants to go back in time to stop that so he can save his whole race because of his mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has Leonardo da Vinci painting multiple Mona Lisas so that he can steal the real Mona Lisa in the present and then sell these as the original Mona Lisa to like other collectors. It's a very
good episode, and it's very
complicated plot.
It's complicated
because no one will check because they can't authenticate a stolen painting, so they're going to just go, it's real.
It's very complicated. It's very well done.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of action in it. There's physicality in it. And, one of my favorite parts is, at one point, to ruin this guy's chances, the Doctor goes back to Da Vinci and convinces them to paint it's a fake or something.
No, he puts it on there. The doctor takes every canvas
all the canvases and paints.
This is a fake, and then he leaves a note like, "Hey, Leonardo, just paint over this."
Yeah, because he knows Leonardo. Because he goes back in time to say, "Hey, how's this happening?" And Da Vinci's,
and he runs into the alien man there. But I love, you just paint, and he's like, "Hey, Leo, just paint over him."
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite episodes. You notice though that all these seasons, other than Key of Time, the last 3 seasons or so, other than that one, have not been as good as the first 2 or 3. But this one had some high moments. Destiny and City of Death were great. Creature from the Pit.
Penis monster.
Oh, that's right.
That's all you need to know. The Doctor...
And welcome to the only Doctor Who podcast that ever uses the word penis.
Oh, come on. Any podcast that talks about the creature from the pit has to say that. You can't not.
Come on,
That's what it looks like.
Come on, say it again for me.
Penis monster. There is a point, and you cannot tell me that Tom Baker...
No, you're exactly right. Because the monster changes completely.
Yes, after that. Yeah. But that first episode where you see... I think it might be the second episode of the story where they meet the monster. It's not the first one. But whatever the first episode is where you see the monster, you cannot tell me that Tom Baker did not know that looked like a penis. I'm
sure he did.
And he enjoyed every second of it because he is like... blowing into this appendage. He's like got his mouth on it, speaking into it. I'm like, he knew what that looked like, and he knew what that looked like he was doing.
Yeah,
he was having fun with that.
He was.
Because he takes every opportunity to like speak into the appendage coming out of the creature, and I'm like, how did nobody notice until the next episode?
Are you? Maybe you're just more of a perv than you think.
He knew. He keeps doing it. He takes every opportunity.
I wish you guys could see the look on her face as she's saying this. It's so hilarious.
And
that
is what makes it funny.
Other than the penis monster, was the episode? Did you think the episode was any good?
I didn't think it was the greatest episode. No. It's
definitely the middle of the season episode.
It's all kind of. You got the evil... I mean, you could have maybe had more of a story, but then you've got a creature that's a blob, so
with a penis.
Except not after episode 1.
Well, he wasn't excited.
Then they gave it some more appendages, like, oh, no, look, we aren't just... But there's no way they didn't know what that looked like before. Maybe they just weren't expecting Tom Baker to...
molest it. One thing I will say about Tom Baker, though, the season, his stories, a lot of them had more scientific theory in them. There was more science. It wasn't just reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. But I swear to God, I want Peter Capaldi to say it one time in the first episode, just once. Or isn't it what it's basically what Matt Smith said, right? In The Power of Three.
There is one where he
reversed the polarity. I think that's exactly what I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but I remember him when everyone had the heart attacks, and he wanted to bring them back.
Yeah,
he reversed the polarity. I remember that, but I don't know of what. And I think that was a throwback to Pertwee.
Yeah, But yeah, Creature from the Pit. That's got they want to. Metal is so precious, so then they want K9 because they're going to use him because he's metal and. The only season that John Leeson didn't voice K9. Yeah.
Oddly enough, and I didn't. Yeah, I guess you can kind of tell. I mean, but he was replaced by David Brierley.
Well, when they use that, the way they do the voice, I mean, at Chicago TARDIS, was that last year? There was a guy that had the K9.
Sounded just like him.
Yeah, I was like, I could have.
I thought it was John Leeson. I really did.
He sounded just like him when he'd go around and.
Then we get to Nightmare of Eden, which actually was not a bad episode. I got 2 spaceships, I believe, collide, but there's some spatial thing where they're kind of collided, but not really. And the Doctor has to try to sort that mess out. Neither ship is dimensionally stable. Like I said, they start getting more into like science again, And I wonder how much of that was Douglas Adams' influence, although the probability drive is not really based in science. It wasn't bad. It was all right.
Even though there were no penis monsters in that one.
You still liked it?
That just... I can't help... Anytime I hear the creature from the pit...
You know what's great? Is she's going to drive home tonight being like, penis monster, penis monster, penis monster.
That is what it is. And anytime I hear creature from the pit, that is the first thing that comes into my head.
I hate to say it, I might have to title the podcast Penis Monster.
I might be able to work it in a few more...
Old school part 2, Penis Monster.
Might be able to work it in a few more times. I'll...
But Nightmare of Eden wasn't too bad. I wouldn't say it was my favorites, but it was all right. Horns of Nimon. I don't even know.
I can honestly say I do not remember what happens in that at all.
There's another. They collide with a spaceship this time, and they end up on a planet I believe called Aneth, and they are with a group of young natives that are being transported into a big maze called the Power Complex. I vaguely remember it. I remember the maze. I remember the planet. I remember them colliding with a ship. I don't remember what the overall plot was. I didn't think it was great. And then Shadow was supposed to be the last one, but there were some issues with... what was it, production teams, and the BBC didn't want to affect the Christmas filming of other shows, and they eventually shelved it. And it's actually really not a bad episode.
They knew they needed a little extra footage for the 5 Doctors, so they shelved it. Yeah, and then
they based all. To be honest, they filmed I think the whole thing. They just didn't have the special effects and stuff added. I mean, they filmed the majority of that episode. So if you get a copy of either the one I saw, which is about 10 years, 15 years old. But there's a new one where I think they CGI'd the effects in. And if you get a copy of it, it's really not a bad episode. I mean, it's Douglas Adams. I mean, because there's one... that episode actually has a Time Lord that retires to Earth to live. I remember that. Actually, I remember that. I don't remember the bad guy's name or nothing like that. Yeah, but Douglas Adams, come on. So, that was never aired, unfortunately. Again, not a great season. It started off strong. It really did, and then just they got rid of the diamond logo. This is when they went to the newer one that you saw with Peter Davison, Colin Baker, which I kind of like. I like the sci-fi, and Tom Baker's face is on there, and they do it now again, So I believe it was 1980. Wow. Oh, let's see. John Nathan Turner replaced Graham Williams and began the most tumultuous years in Doctor Who history. Because there was a book that came out recently talking about him having sex with underage boys, but then again, for some reason in England, if you were gay, you had to be 21 to be age of consent, not 18. So these boys were like 20. Still, I mean, there was all kinds of shit going on behind the scenes. There were some good episodes.
There's a lot of scantily clad men in the JNT era.
And an amazing amount. And,
shirtless men.
To be fair, there's also Perry in a bikini. A bikini top, at least. Oh, wait, no, full bikini, I think. Let's see. Companions for this season? Let's see. Tom Baker, obviously still there.
Well,
Romana
E-Space
departs from
trilogy,
the series
right?
in Warrior's Gate, along with John Leeson.
And they pick up Adric, right, from E-Space.
Yeah, I mean, it started beginning. Leisure Hive, they go to Brighton Beach for vacation. It's out of season. They go to a planet where it's supposed to be all leisurely, and they find out people are trying to kill people, and there's lasers involved and stuff. And this is, I believe, the first this episode where they removed the randomizer from the TARDIS. That's something I forgot to mention. In the Key of Time series, to prevent the Black Guardian... afterwards, when he finds the Key of Time, to prevent the Black Guardian from finding him, he puts a randomizer on the TARDIS so he never knows where he's going. It always... Which is funny, because even after that, it didn't really go where he wanted.
You suggesting the Doctor did not have complete control?
I am not suggesting it. I'm outright saying it. So that episode, that's a good episode. That's an interesting one. Then we have Megalos. There's a few losses or episodes that sound like that, because the last episode is Legopolis, which is Tom Baker's last episode, which will bring this journey to an end. At the end of Megalos, Romana leaves. Depending what lore you want to follow and what you believe is canon, she becomes president of Gallifrey. But she leaves to go to Gallifrey. They summon her. She doesn't want to go either, sadly. Let's see, I don't remember what the rest of the episode was. Something to do with the planet's energy. I don't remember. Full circle, en route to Gallifrey to return Romana. Actually, Romana doesn't leave. She gets summoned to Gallifrey. Then they go to E-Space. Because he passes through a strange phenomenon that we eventually become aware is called a CVE, a charged vacuum embodiment, and they end up in E-Space. And this is the episode where you find... Wait, is this where we get Adric? Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. Hang on a second.
I'm sure that's a fair trade. Romana for Adric?
Oh, yeah, we pick up Adric in this one. Adric is... he's picked up in the beginning. He leaves his planet. He's on the run from something, but you have to be inside at a certain time or they'll come after you. And he ends up on the TARDIS. He stows away. So we pick up Adric in full circle.
It's his little math badge.
Yeah.
Gold star.
Not a great episode. I mean, Megalos wasn't great because I don't remember much of it. Leisure Hive was good. And then we come up on State of Decay. They're still in E-Space. State of Decay is, I believe, where they pick up Nyssa.
I want to say yes.
But they don't pick up Nyssa right away. I think she's with them in the episode, and then she... Oh, my bad. She's not in this. State of Decay. But, I know that the villagers all live under, like, it's almost a medieval kind of thing. They live under, like, 3 feudal lords kind of thing.
Notice how many times you've said in the last...
Medieval?
Like... 2-3 seasons of Tom Baker. It's kind of medieval.
Well, they are. It's like because the BBC makes tons of medieval and Victorian shit, and they got this costumes laying all over the place. Mm-hmm. Warrior's Gate, another episode that was kind of forgettable, to be honest with you. The TARDIS ends up in a pure white void.
Good. It's a pure white void.
Here's where we meet Nyssa. Keeper Atrakan. The Master returns. The Master kills her father and takes his form, which starts what you see in the movie. That's the first time he's done that. They're in end space, and basically they're trying to solve... There's some mist that's like killing people off, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. The Master's tied in with it, which then feeds into Legopolis. Yeah, because
he's got the next... What is it, 3 all involve the Master?
Yeah.
Legopolis,
yeah, it's Keeper Atrakan, Legopolis, and then Castrovalva. I hate saying it. This season was not good. It was very dark. It was very convoluted. I didn't think the writing was that good. I mean, this very well... I mean, Terrence Dicks wrote a lot of ones I liked. His and this one I didn't like. Mm-hmm. This was kind of the beginning of the ratings going down on Doctor Who, and then the BBC was trying to kill the program throughout the 80s anyway. I think at this point they were already trying to kill it.
Well, by the end, you kind of feel like Tom Baker is just kind of phoning it in.
He just doesn't care.
Yeah, he's just like,
you're watching Tom Baker, and you're like, where's the spark? And the whole thing's about entropy and decay and aging, and it just wears you down. It's just... I mean, they were going with that because, it was his final season, you know. But...
Yeah.
Legopolis comes up, and the TARDIS is parked on the side of a highway, and Tegan's car breaks down that she's driving. And it's her aunt's car. She finds out the Master killed her aunt at some point. And she wanders into the TARDIS thinking it's an actual police call box, and she's going to call for help. And she gets lost, and you see her later on in the episode again, I think. He goes to Earth, but the original idea to go to Legopolis was to fix the chameleon circuit. He goes to Earth to get the proper measurements, I want to say, for a police box. And while he's there, I think in the past couple episodes there was that figure in white, the Observer, watching him, right? The Watcher or the Observer or something like that, who was kind of tailing him around. They end up going to the planet. They go to Legopolis, and they find out that the technicians on Legopolis made the CVEs because if the universe gets too hot, it needs to vent the heat to somewhere. Otherwise, it's catastrophic for the universe. Something bizarre like that. Mm-hmm. And the Master does something to seal them off, thus causing the universe to almost be destroyed. The Master and the Doctor work together to fix it using a satellite array on Earth. The Master pushes them off. The Doctor dies, regenerates into Peter Davison. You find out the Observer is actually the Doctor, or Peter Davison's Doctor, who walks over and merges with him, and then Peter Davison is found, and we lead into Castrovalva. Mm-hmm. But, there was a lot of good, like I said, in Tom Baker, Tom Baker years, but the second half of it just didn't seem to have as much. There were some great ones with when Douglas Adams took over. Every season had one or two really good ones, but the best seasons were like the first three, and then it just kind of, to me, declined. But he brought a different approach to it, and he was the only Doctor you really see change because he was there so long. Mm-hmm. He grew as a Doctor, where usually you see the companions grow.
Well, Hartnell grew.
Yeah, Hartnell was there long enough to grow.
Because he started out completely self-centered, and then eventually, through his companions, learned to care about other people.
But there were a lot of stories that were. I'd say about half of them were good, half of them weren't. I mean, they're all watchable to some extent. And any who's better than no who. I mean, if I had a choice...
Is that our motto?
Yeah, it is.
Any who's better than no who.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Well, I mean, if I had a choice between watching, something I hate, or if I had a choice of watching, I don't know, Big Brother,
I would rather watch...
Talons of Wang Chiang, I'd watch Talons of Wang Chiang.
I was going to say I'd rather watch The Monster of Peladon again than sit through some reality show or...
Exactly.
Yes, even episodes that I would say were not good, I would still probably watch them again.
Mm-hmm. I agree, because
I wouldn't go, there's an episode, I will not sit through that again. I would watch it again.
Damn you. Oh. So, that's been episode 20. A lot longer than normal. Thanks for sticking with us. Hope you check out some of the episodes we talked about. I mean, there were some that we really enjoyed, and we think,
there were some we heartily endorsed, and some we went, I remember that one. Watch it.
And then there were the ones that we said stay away from. I mean, go ahead and watch them anyway. I mean, see what you think. Everyone has their own tastes and opinions. But
I'm sure there's someone out there that would say I am the biggest fan of the Monster of Peladon.
And that person would be wrong. But anyways, if you're that person, send us email or leave a message on the website or
on
our Facebook page.
Tell us why you like Monster of Peladon.
Yeah, you know what? When you guys watch some of these and let us know if you liked them or not. But anyways, that's it, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.